Welcome everyone, join us today as we honour the life and legacy of Glenn Wheatley, one of Australia's most influential music figures, from his early days as the bassist for the Masters Apprentices, to his bold moves as a manager and industry pioneer. So let's dive in. Glenn Dawson Wheatley, born the 23rd of January 1948, in Nambour, Queensland, in Australia. Born at Selangor Private Hospital in Nambour, Queensland, Glenn was the eldest of two sons to parents Dawson Wheatley and Frida Evans. He developed a passion for music early on and gave his first performance in 1961 at the inaugural Everton Park High School dance, playing in a three-piece group called Sudsy and the Boys. The band later added a vocalist and rebranded themselves as the Southtown Moods. Outside of music, Glenn began an apprenticeship in photolithography in 1963, and by 1965, he had earned the title of Queensland's Apprentice of the Year. January 1, 1966 marked a major turning point in Glenn's life. After playing a three-day weekend gig at the Caloundra Surf Club, he realized he no longer wanted to pursue his trade as a photolithographer. His passion was shifting entirely toward music. Always proactive, Glenn began creating his own opportunities early on. He organized weekly dances at his local parish hall, and after seeing success, he moved them to a larger venue. While at work one day, Glenn received a call from Lobby Lloyd of the Purple Hearts, inviting him to join the band as lead guitarist. Around this time, he discovered a growing love for radio after hearing their demo played on Station 4BH. When the Purple Hearts decided to relocate to Melbourne to pursue bigger opportunities, Glenn chose to remain in Brisbane. Not long after, he joined the blues outfit Bay City Union. The group was led by vocalist Matt Taylor, who would later gain recognition in Australia as the frontman for the influential blues band Chain. In December 1966, they too decided to head south in search of success. This time, Glenn wasn't going to let the chance pass him by. The band spent time gigging between Sydney and Melbourne, facing plenty of challenges. After nearly a year, they landed a deal with Festival Records to release a single. Just 2 days later, Jim Keys of the Masters Apprentices approached Glenn with an offer to join as rhythm guitarist. Though tempted, Glenn chose to stay loyal to Bay City Union, and the band went on to record Maureen. The single only managed brief chart appearances, 1 week in Melbourne and 2 in Brisbane, offering little in terms of a breakthrough. Eventually, Jim Keys extended another offer, this time for Glenn to join the Masters Apprentices as their bassist. After considerable thought, and 18 months with Bay City Union, Glenn decided to make the move that would change the course of his career. Over the next 4 years, Glenn performed to packed venues filled with enthusiastic fans as a member of Masters Apprentices. This period, which lasted until the band split in 1972, saw the release of some of their biggest hits, including Turn Up Your Radio in 1970 and Because I Love You in 1971, along with the critically acclaimed Choice Cuts album, recorded in 1971 at London's famous Abbey Road Studios. One memorable evening at Festival Hall in Brisbane, Glenn overheard a promoter commenting that their crowd had outdrawn even the Beatles, a moment that opened his eyes to the power of door deals, where payment reflected audience size instead of a fixed rate. Inspired by this, Glenn stepped into a managerial role for the band and launched a booking agency called Drum. This venture paused when the band entered the Battle of the Bands competition and earned a trip to London. While they recorded at Abbey Road and performed across the city, success proved elusive. Eventually, the group disbanded in London. Rather than return home immediately, Glenn stayed in the UK and began working for a major management company representing acts like David Bowie and Sweet. He later helped establish their American operations and became involved in managing artists including the New Seekers and Gary Glitter. Wanting to bring an Australian band to the US market, Glenn set his sights on returning home. Before departing London, he happened to catch a performance by the band Mississippi. He saw potential but felt they needed a strong lead vocalist. Coincidentally, Glenn Shorrock was also in London at the time, doing backing vocals for Cliff Richard. Wheatley introduced Shorrock to the band, and the vocal blend was exceptional. They agreed to reconnect in Australia in 3 months to form what would eventually become one of the country's biggest acts. Glenn played a pivotal role in launching FM radio in Australia. After years of persistence and hard work, he secured the country's first commercial FM license, which led to the establishment of EONFM. At the same time, he was managing successful bands such as Australian Crawl and Pseudo Echo. His efforts laid the groundwork for what would eventually become the Triple M radio network. In 1982, combining his love of music with a passion for sport, Glenn launched Wheatley Sport. The company later became known as Advantage International, attracting high-profile athletes like Ian Baker Finch, Wayne Grady, John Fitzgerald, John Alexander, Peter Brock, and Simon O'Donnell. Glenn's long-standing friendship with John Farnham dated back to 1968, when both were managed by Darryl Sample and even shared a flat. While their paths diverged as their careers evolved, they reconnected on August 17, 1979, after a Little River Band performance at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. John and his wife Jill were in the audience and were amazed by the band's international success. After the show, the three sat talking backstage, with John expressing his desire to revive his own career. The idea of Glenn taking over his management was floated, though the choice was tough, as it meant parting ways with John's friend and then manager, Danny Finley. Glenn went on to establish Wheatley Records in 1980, and on January 1 that year, John Farnham signed with the label. Glenn suggested Graham Goebel collaborate with John on a new project, which led to the release of Uncovered, selling 55,000 copies. Together, they formed the John Farnham Band and hit the pub circuit on tour. On February 2, 1982, following internal disputes within the Little River Band, Glenn approached John with an offer to become the group's new lead singer, an offer he accepted. After 4 challenging years with the band, John decided to return to a solo career. Glenn, determined to help him succeed, couldn't land a deal with a label, so he mortgaged his own home to fund the production of Whispering Jack. He eventually secured a distribution deal with BMG, and the album went on to become one of the most iconic in Australian music history. A passionate supporter of the South Melbourne Football Club, Glenn joined its board in 1988 and later became part of the group that purchased the club. Around this time, he came across a cassette tape that would launch the career of a young Delta Goodrum. Between 1987 and 1989, he served as managing director of Hoyts Media. His business acumen earned him the Advance Australia Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Entertainment Industry, along with the 1988 BRW Business Award for Marketing. In 1996, Glenn launched the artist agency Talent Works. 2 years later, in 1998, Masters Apprentices were inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame, recognizing the band where Glenn first made his mark. Glenn was deeply committed to charity work. Over 25 years, he produced the Spirit of Christmas albums, raising over $5.5 million for the Salvation Army and Starlight Children's Foundation. He organized a 1994 Rwanda benefit concert with John Farnham, helped stage the Tour of Duty concert for Aussie troops in East Timor in 1999, and produced 2 major farmer relief concerts in 2018 and 2019, the latter raising $4.6 million. In July 2007, Glenn pleaded guilty to tax evasion and was sentenced to 30 months in prison, with a minimum of 15 months. He served 10 months behind bars and 5 months under home detention. Glenn repaid the full amount owed, taking full responsibility for his actions. On a personal note, Glenn was married twice. His first marriage was to Alison Sund on February 12, 1972, which ended in divorce 8 years later. He later married sons and daughters actress Gaynor Martin on July 14, 1982, and they remained together until his passing. The couple had 3 children, Tim, who is also a musician, Samantha, and Cara Wheatley. Glenn shared more about his remarkable journey in several books, including Paper Paradise, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Survivor, in 1999, Paper Paradise, Do What You Want to Do, in 2000, and Facing the Music, in 2010. Tragically, on February 1, 2022, Glenn Wheatley passed away at the age of 74 due to complications from COVID-19. In May 2023, over a year after his passing, Glenn's top priority project was finally realized with John Farnham Finding the Voice, a tribute to both John's career and their long friendship. After Glenn's passing, his wife Gaynor carried the project to completion. Premiering on May 9 in Melbourne, it became the highest-selling Australian music documentary in its first week, breaking the record. And there you have it. Though Glenn Wheatley is gone, he left behind far more than chart-topping hits. He left a legacy of fearless innovation, dedication, and belief in homegrown music. His contributions to the Australian music industry continue to resonate, proving that one person's vision can truly change the course of a nation's cultural history. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.